name's Lee Calder, and we're driving the backcountry of North Georgia. We're actually heading up to a town called Trion, Georgia, and we're actually going to investigate, do a little paranormal investigation on a place called Corpsewood Manor. We discovered this place some years ago when we were doing some Bigfoot research up here in northwest Georgia, and it's an area called Taylor Ridge, which has a long history of Bigfoot sightings, UFO sightings, and a very haunted place called Corpsewood Manor. And I have JT McAvoy and Jessica Jones in the vehicle with me, and I've got Craig Jackson and Bruce Fuller in the vehicle behind us. And we're coming up here to do a little paranormal investigation. Now, most of you know that we do Bigfoot research, and you probably don't realize that we research other phenomena as well. And we thought, yeah, it's maybe time to go check this place out and see what we can find out about Corpsewood Manor. But I know, Jessica, you've been doing some research on Corpsewood and done quite a bit of work on that. So why don't you tell us a little bit about what information you found about this place?
All right, well, Corpsewood Manor was created and built by Dr. Charles Scudder and his longtime friend, servant, and rumored lover, Joseph Odom. Back in the 1970s, Dr. Scudder and Mr. Odom moved from the Chicago area, where Dr. Scudder was a professor at Chicago area college. He was involved with LSD-25 research, and they were both rumored to have been involved in Satan worship. They decided they wanted to get away from the city and move down south into the mountains to get away from society and to kind of have their own kingdom in the woods, so to speak. They sold all their possessions, gave everything away that didn't have any symbolic or personal value to them, and they moved to an isolated mountain with about 40 acres of land, and began clearing the land themselves and built a home out of bricks with their own hands. It took about 2 years to build, and they had no phone, no electricity or other utilities, and they ate off the land and the chickens that they raised in their chicken house. They named it Corpsewood Manor. They had parties there with small groups of people, and the people of Trion and Somerville, the surrounding towns, really liked these men. They were very likable and pillars of their community. And of those friends that they invited over, there was one man in particular named Kenneth Avery Brock, who was telling his friends about the parties that these two gentlemen had. And his friend Tony West caught word of this and heard about the grandeur these men lived in, and decided that he wanted to rob Mr. Scudder and Mr. Odom. So they decided, they got a plan on a Sunday night, on Sunday, December the 12th, 1982. Tony and Kenneth and two of their friends drove up to Corpsewood Manor under the premise that they were going to go see Dr. Scudder and Joseph and offer them some wine and go party, maybe do some LSD or something, and got to the house with the intentions of robbing the men. And when they got there, the unsuspecting Dr. Scudder and Joseph were brutally murdered by Tony West and Kenneth Avery Brock. Along with their two bull mastiffs, they were killed as well. It was a brutal, cold-blooded slaying. They were both shot, and the two men that shot them never found anything in their house of value, no money. You know, they had no money. They had really nothing they could take other than a golden harp, I believe, was the story.
I remember when this happened back in 1982. It was a major story in northwest Georgia. It was almost the equivalent of the Charles Manson murders that happened in California a few years previous to that. It was definitely a major story, and even a book was written about it, Murder at Corpsewood. I don't recall the author's name, but the book has been long out of print. It's actually hard to find. But it was definitely brutal slayings, and it captured the imagination of a lot of people. I know that like right now, if you do a search of Corpsewood Manor on the internet, you'll find several websites solely dedicated to Corpsewood Manor. And it's something about this story that's captured a lot of people's imaginations and even their hearts even, because both Odom and Scudder were very likable guys and didn't deserve what they got. And a lot of people realize that. And it's a very sad story. And it's just a story that, I don't know, it's hard to say. It just kind of grabs onto you and doesn't let go. It's that type of story.
So there's a brutal murder involved, and there's, you know, also the possibility of, you know, satanic worship and you know, drugs. I mean, are we thinking that this has, you know, maybe the possibility of a satanic worship and the drugs had something to do with their murders and the brutality of it, or is you know, history kind of shown that it's more of a robbery attempt than anything?
It's really hard to say. And even the area where this location is has a long history of UFO sightings, Bigfoot sightings. Even back when the Cherokee and the Creeks were roaming this part of the country, there was a very major war and battle fought up in this area, a very bloody war fought between the Creeks and the Cherokee up on Taylor Ridge where we're going. And then some years later, there was a major Civil War battle fought here too. So it's an area with a long history of death, long history of high strangeness. I think it'd be very interesting to see if we can capture maybe some phenomena on video and see where this goes.
We've got multiple different tools to try and capture these kind of results too, as far as you know, different things that we can try out.
Oh, absolutely. And we know too as researchers that you know, whether it's Bigfoot, whether it's paranormal investigations like ghost hunting, or even UFO investigations, there's actually a lot of overlap between the three phenomena. Quite often with all three phenomena, there's EMF effects that are actually documented. There's a lot of ghost sightings, or sometimes ET abduction scenarios with UFO encounters. Bigfoot are often seen or spoken about being in haunted areas. So a lot of times when you're using different terminology, whether you say something's haunted, you know, it could be a wide range of things that are causing the phenomenon.
Now, aside from like just the creepy feeling, and you know, I've seen the pictures of the house just in the article, and you know, obviously it's not an extremely good quality, but when you look at the pictures, it has kind of a creepy feel to it. You know, aside from that, just a gut feeling factor, is there been any recorded, you know, anomalous activities on site by, you know, any other researchers or groups or anybody over the years?
I know different people have come up here and done investigations. I don't know what the results of those investigations have been, but you know, we'll see what we get. But I know, like I say, a lot of researchers have caught the interest, you know, been interested in coming up here, and
well, you know, the house is in ruins now, and before the house was in ruins, when it was in all of its grandeur, it was adorned with all sorts of satanic, ritualistic furniture and stained glass windows, and had a pretty creepy feel about it from the get-go.
Well, even the name Corpsewood Manor, the name itself, is a little bit foreboding and perhaps even foretelling in terms of what happened to these men. And if I remember correctly, Dr. Scudder had actually done a self-portrait of himself, a painting, where he painted himself being bound and shot in the head. And it was, again, another foretelling aspect of this whole story. So when you look at all the details of the story, yeah, it leads me to think we're going to have one very interesting